we want your read about what the opportunities are in Miami, because Sapphire Ventures doesn't have an office there, right? But are you making investments there?
Thanks. First of all, thanks for having me on, Caroline.
Of course.
We don't have an office in Miami, but we constantly look for opportunities that are outside of the Bay Area and New York and some of the core tech markets. I would say the innovation here at Emerge, as well as the broader Miami city, has been amazing. And I've got the opportunity to talk to a lot of founders and VCs specifically in certain areas like crypto, AI, and developer tools and all that.
Of course, you're largely sort of focusing on bigger, later stage companies. What are the opportunities for that in AI? We were just hearing from the CEO of Emerge saying this year it's pivoted from all things crypto to all things artificial intelligence. What sort of companies attract you?
Yeah, 100%. So, we think AI is a super trend for the next decade to come. In the short term, though, however, the processes that are being disrupted by AI in the short term, from a value creation perspective, are actually better captured by incumbents to some extent, right? So let's say, if you're trying to build the next generation Salesforce, by adding AI on top, could potentially do better than a company. So I look for companies and founders that have a unique take on AI and how to apply AI to certain business processes. And the way I think about this is, compared to, let's say, the internet, right? We don't have news feed as a way of consuming content from the internet all the way until Facebook came up the concept of newsfeed. So we're still waiting for that big moment for long-term value creation, but I can already see multiple pockets where AI could really come in and create real value and disrupt existing business processes.
Casber, lend us your expertise as to how you're sorting wheat from chaff, because there's an awful lot of people who are suddenly an AI company or an AI startup that weren't a few months ago. So how are you ensuring that what they're building is really changing the way in which productivity could be?
Yeah, Caroline, this is a great question. This space is emerging so fast. Frankly, it's very hard to track, even from an investor perspective, right? We at Sapphire Ventures, we've been investing in AI for the last decade almost. So this is not a brand new thing. It's just the generative models themselves have been a new way to interact with human beings and add certain chat functions that are familiar to the users themselves. So for me, I really look for, one, again, a founder that has a unique take on a specific problem. So not necessarily just starting from technology, but starting from the business problem itself. That's probably number one. And number two, from a pure technological standpoint, I'd like to understand how they differentiate from the incumbent solutions, right? Whether it's a distribution advantage, whether it's pure technological advantage, do they have a new take on distribution? Because at the end of the day, again, going back to my point earlier, AI, just applying to existing business process doesn't solve the distribution problem, and incumbents own distribution. So that's a big thing I keep seeing in companies, and then I keep trying to challenge founders on what's their unique take on this.
Casber, what's interesting is what seems to have the crypto world really concerned right now is regulatory lack of clarity. And we still have a lot of concerns, let's say, in the way in which AI is currently being built, the ethical nature in which it can be scaled. Do you worry about regulation? How do you see the CEOs, the founders you're talking to, navigate that one?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, I think, first of all, I think AI safety should be top of mind for both regulators and builders at the same time. I think in the Valley, there's this sense of, you try to build first and ask for forgiveness later sort of thing. And I think that philosophy and mentality doesn't necessarily apply to AI. Now, we are, despite the fact that in some sense, we're kind of close to AGI, we're not that close yet. So we do have some time to figure this out from a framework perspective. What we do want to see is some real clarity around regulators come in and draw the lane for companies and founders to play within that lane. And that just takes time and takes practice. And given how fast the space is evolving, I'm assuming the regulations probably will come not this year, but the next year.
You specialize in partnering with B2B SaaS companies as well. That isn't just all things AI. There's things like cybersecurity, good old kind of almost economic resilient building of cyber companies. Where else is attracting you? Because it can't just be checks being written to AI, or can it?
100%. Look, I would say, going back to my point on AI, I don't think about AI specific companies. I think about how people apply AI into cyber marketing, sales, and all these other pockets of B2B SaaS, right? It's today you don't find a company and say we're mobile, right? Just like tomorrow, I don't think we'll see companies who say they're AI only. And cyber to me is an incredibly exciting space, right? I think, number one, cyber has been the top priority for enterprise spending, but everybody's looking to get more out of less, right? It's the analogy I use is like our iPhone. When we first got our iPhone, we've got 10 apps on this. We can keep downloading new apps. Now we've had 1,000 apps on iPhone. We're not going to download new apps. And similar thing is happening in cyber too, where the CISOs, the key buyers, they're looking for consolidation in real time. And secondly, I think what's incredibly interesting and exciting is the talent shortage in cyber is unfortunately not going away anytime soon. So there's going to be opportunities for companies to come in and provide not only just alerts and insights for the companies, to provide a last mile solutions for those companies and buyers who want to tackle cybersecurity challenges. So I thought those are incredibly exciting.
All very exciting, but how much of these founders are having to get to grips with where valuations are now at, even for something as exciting and exuberant as AI or cyber?
Yeah, look, Caroline, I think it's a great question. I don't have a crystal ball. I would say, though, I think valuation is coming down real time. It's bridging the public market and the private market is bridging real time. Now, at what point, do we get to an equilibrium where we start seeing a lot more deals happening? My personal guess is probably we're still a couple quarters away from that point. But I would say, efficient growth has been a big trendy word this year in the Valley for good reasons. And one of the key reasons and one of the key underlying statement behind efficient growth is not all growth is created equal, right? We're going to have high-growing, high-profile companies that are flying today that might not be a big public IPO companies that could grow efficiently. And what happened now is investors are looking for proof points for efficient growth earlier on in company cycle. So instead of just looking at growth early on, Series A, Series B, they're asking for efficient growth sooner than later, which is another phenomenon that's impacting the funding market.
And how much are you being impacted by the fact that the exit market is pretty close? There's consolidation, as you said, but maybe not so much from a regulatory perspective from the big American companies being able to buy up smaller ones as we'd previously seen. And look, the IPO market's still pretty shut.
Yeah, totally. I think fortunately, most of our portfolio companies have years of cash on their balance sheet. We believe most of our companies are building resilient, long-term, sustainable B2B businesses that they'll always have a demand, right? The way I think about this is, economy is a function of productivity growth, and B2B SaaS is a big driver behind that increase in productivity growth. And a lot of our companies are indexed to that. So, the way I think about it is there's an demand market. It's just how we get from point A to point B while surviving this downturn.